We found that the 5D Mark II had one serious problem, and that was it doesn't give a clean HDMI output. The output from the camera has the various little bits of camera information and the red recording dot, etc. And probably the worst thing is that when you actually go to record, it switches down to a very low resolution format. So for live video production, or for doing a program where you're going to mix it live, even if you're going to record, send it out on the internet later, it really is no good. In fact, it's useless. But for creating video and editing it in Final Cut or Avid or Premiere Pro, etc., it's a great camera, and there are some fantastic results out there, as I mentioned. Now, earlier this year, Nikon announced a couple of cameras, and one of these is really taken video to the next step for a DSLR, and that's because it has included clean HDMI output, and that is the Nikon D800. And we've kindly got a product on loan from Nikon Europe, and we've had a chance to use it over the last couple of weeks, and we're going to share some of the things that we have found out. Now, the D800 is it's not a cheap camera. It's sort of the same sort of price range as the Canon 5D. The body alone is around £2,000, just over £2,000, so $3,000. And then the lens, Nikon provided us with a 50mm f1.8 lens, which is actually a very nice lens. You'd normally have a zoom of some sort on a camera if you're going to use it for video. So it's a little bit limited for our testing purposes, but it is actually a great lens. And this is about, I think, £300 in the UK, so probably $500-ish in the US. So it is not a cheap option. Now, as a camera, we've been out and just used it to take some pictures. As a camera, I have to say, it is pretty impressive. But we're not going to do a camera, a real in-depth review of the D800 and how you use all the features. We're really going to talk about using it for live video. So if we have a sort of close-up look at the camera, it has a good set of controls, pretty intuitive. If we look at the back, a large screen, and we've actually found that using it, putting your hands around it, etc., most things are easily in reach. It does have a built-in small flash unit, unlike the Canon 5D. Obviously not very powerful, but great for a little bit of infill, etc. And so as a camera, we've had some great results from it. But what's it like for live video? Well, that's the important question, isn't it? There's another thing that this camera does that the Canon does. Now, the Canon 5D Mark II has been superseded by the 5D Mark III. That still does not give a clean HDMI output. And even the higher end Canon DSLRs don't give clean outputs. And why is that, you might ask? Well, of course, Canon have a range of professional video cameras, and it may well be that they don't want to encroach upon that probably very profitable market with their DSLRs. But Nikon don't have a range of professional video cameras. So, they have, it's only in their interest to expand the capability. But I hope that the capabilities they're putting into this, Canon will realize that they need to do it on their other cameras. The other thing that this has is that it does allow you to do some autofocus in video mode. On the 5D Mark II, when we've used it, you have to do all the focusing manually or by pressing a button. But this does actually have an autofocus mode in video in live video, which is pretty good. So how do we connect up? Well, it has on the side, it has an HDMI. Oh, close the HDMI connector just below the USB and below the mic input connector. So what we are going to do is we are just going to get a USB cable, which I happen to have here, and we're going to plug it in, and we'll switch the camera on, and we'll go into the live view mode. Take the lens cap off, which will be pretty helpful, and let's just focus it up, and then we will switch to now. There's obviously not a lot of lighting in that. Let's put the camera down. There's not a lot of lighting in the back of the studio there. But one of the things you can see, I'm sure already, is that so we focused there on the back of the mixer, and you can see it focusing. So if I move it quickly around, you can see it hunting for the focus, and you can see that it is focused on the back of the mixer, but looking out through the doors, you can see that is out of focus, and this is known as depth of field. And what it does is it brings your attention to things that you want people to look at and not be distracted by the background. So, for example, if I just pick this up, if I take the Nikon lens cap there, and this might have a little bit of difficulty focusing on this because so there isn't an awful lot of light. There we go. So there we are. You can see that the Nikon lens cap is in focus, but the background sort of behind it is not in focus, but it is now because I have moved the camera, and the focus where I've got the focus spot set is it's now focusing on some of those cables in the background. But if I now move it down, bring the focus area onto the lens cap, there we are. And that's what you can do with DSLRs because of their large sensor size and because of the physics involved. It does allow you to very easily get some very good depth of field, which it's an artistic technique and not necessarily one that you would want to use normally in video, but it is something that you can do and can be used incredibly effectively. So that is that's the camera just in action. Now there are lots of clever things you can do in the menus, and I thought it'd be worth having a quick look at that. So if I switch to menu mode, and then we go and look at the camera again, you can see that we're on the HDMI options here, and if I select HDMI and go to the output resolutions, you can see that we can switch to 480, 576, 720 or 1080. We've got 1080i in use at the moment. It's worth saying that this is the HDMI output, and this is different to the movie settings on the camera. And when you actually go to record on the camera, so if you were going to record on the camera as well as record your live output, you need to make sure that the settings are the same, because the HDMI output will switch when you go to record to whatever the movie mode is. So if we just go and have a quick look at movie mode, it's there are movie settings, and frame size, frame rate, you can see that we've got it set to 1920 by 1080, 25 frames per second. See that you can do basically 24, 25 or 30. 24 is very popular because of its cinema-like appearance. And down in the 720 mode, you can see we've got 60, 50, 30 and 25 frames. Now I want to go back and go to the HDMI settings again. And if you go down into advanced, there are three options here. The output range is to do with the RGB range that your recording equipment will accept, your mixer, etc. So best to leave that on auto. You can change the output display size. A lot of monitors overscan, so if I go to 95% and select that now, you'll notice the picture will shrink slightly, and that's so that if you're showing things on a normal television, you can make sure that everything is displayed. But obviously for recording purposes, you want to keep that at 100% if you're recording from the HDMI output. And then the last option is the live view on-screen display. And I'm just going to turn this on just to show you some of the options that you get while you are in the video mode. And if we go back now to the video mode, you can see that we've got all the camera information. You can see the sound has got audio meters nicely shown on the right hand side, and we can go through, and there are some various options going through the menu for the screen display, the histogram, and to make sure that your camera is level, it has got a sensor there, so it's a bit like some plane instruments that you can for roll, etc. So if you don't have something on your tripod and you want to make sure the shot is level, you can actually use that display. So it does have some impressive functions. Right, you can see on the top right hand side there, it has AF, that's the autofocus function. So that means that I've actually got it on the autofocus. If I can adjust that and change it to standard, and that means that it no longer autofocuses. You can see if I move around, so I now have to manually do the focusing. And you may well want to do that, but it's very nice that you can see the red box where I've got the focus point set for the autofocus. And if I now move up, everything is out of focus. So I'm now going to switch back to AF autofocus F. I think it's full screen, and it should focus on whatever's in that green box. But the round Nikon lens cap sometimes confuses it, because it really is looking for a straight edge to do its focusing. But it is very usable, and the autofocus function is pretty good. And the use of the depth of field does mean that you can be artistic and draw people's attention to something. So there it is, the Nikon D800 live in use for video purposes. It's a great camera, there is no doubt about it. I'm very impressed with it. We didn't have a chance to try it with a zoom lens. All our lenses are Canon lenses. If you are in the market for a dual purpose camera, and I would say if you are into still photography but want to be able to have a camera that you can use for video, especially for live video, or for live recording of video being mixed, etc., then to me there is no other camera on the market that has these capabilities. But it's not a cheap camera, and obviously you'd have to look at the other cameras that are available, the video cameras that are available at the same price. Because if you're spending around £3,000, $4,500, you can get. There are a lot of very nice video cameras that you can get. They be very hard to give you some, the depth of field, etc., that you can get on a full frame sensor like in the D800. But from video production purposes, they'll come with very good lenses, etc. So if it's for putting in a studio, I think you should go after a video camera. If it is something that you want to use as a still photographer and you are into still photography, or you want something compact that people don't know that you're out shooting video, people just think you're taking stills, but with the capability of using it live, then the Nikon D800 is a great camera, and I can recommend it. It It's not necessarily easy to use. It does have the autofocus, so you can literally just stick it in a studio